Musings of a Reluctant Libtard, Episode 2, COVID-19 and America's Divide. Social distancing. My sister, foster sister, Anita, is a nurse at UConn Health. COVID-19 didn't just expose the cracks in our healthcare system, it exposed the cracks in our relationships, our trusted institutions, and even our basic sense of shared reality. Anita, my foster sister, is a nurse. For her, social distancing wasn't just a suggestion, it was a life or death precaution. So when I posted a picture of myself and some friends out for a motorcycle ride, I saw a few people enjoying the day while keeping their distance. She saw potential new patients. That was COVID in a nutshell. Two people could look at the same thing and see something completely different. Coronavirus. I have had viruses before and survived them. For a lot of people, that was the logic. I've been sick before and I was fine, so what's the big deal? I get that instinct, but COVID wasn't the flu. It spread faster, hit harder, and killed more people than any of us were prepared for. I had COVID. I stayed in my room, kept away from my roommates, and managed not to pass it on. But that's the tricky thing about this virus. You could be spreading it for a week before you even knew you had it. Some people refuse to accept that. Maybe because they didn't want to believe in something they couldn't see. Maybe because the inconvenience of it all felt worse to them than the disease itself. But for those who lived through it in hospitals and homes where loved ones struggled to breathe, there was no debate. COVID was real and it was deadly. Masks. When I first heard we should wear masks, I did some research myself. I wasn't going to take anyone's word for it. Not the government's, not the media's. I looked into it myself. And what I found was simple. Masks weren't about protecting you from COVID, they were about protecting others from you. That's why this whole argument about personal freedom never made sense to me. It wasn't about your rights. It was about whether you were willing to take a tiny inconvenience to keep from spreading the virus to someone else, someone who might not survive it. If you knew you could kill someone just by sneezing, would you cover your mouth? If the answer is yes, then congratulations, you understand why masks mattered. But it wasn't just masks, it was the entire response, the testing or lack thereof, the mixed messages, the way half the country decided that listening to scientists somehow made you weak. It's not that the government didn't make mistakes, they did. But when the leadership of a country spends months pretending a crisis isn't happening, denying basic science, and making a culture war out of public health, you're not going to get a unified response. You're going to get exactly what we got: chaos. Until we have a vaccine, we are careful. That was always the message. Not panic, not lock yourself inside forever. Just be careful. Not because everyone was going to die, because some people would. I didn't want to be responsible for that. I still don't. I've never understood the mentality of, if it doesn't hurt me, then I don't care. That's not how society works. That's not how being a decent human being works. So yeah, I wore a mask. I took precautions. Not because I was scared for myself, but because I cared about other people. I don't know when that became controversial. 8/27/2020. Pushing 200,000 dead. Definitely not good enough. Stop making excuses to justify incompetence. That was the thing that infuriated me the most. The excuses. The way people bent over backwards to defend failure. It's not his fault. It's just the flu. More people die in car crashes. How many times did we hear that? How many times did we see people wave away the fact that day after day, thousands of Americans were dying? At what point does loyalty become blindness? At what point does winning become more important than survival? Perspective, maybe? The U.S. has about 4% of the world's population, but we had around 25% of the world's COVID deaths. Let that sink in. Other countries were hit just as hard. Some were hit earlier. Some had fewer resources. But we were the ones leading the world in death. That wasn't because of bad luck. That was because of bad leadership. I don't care how much you love your political party or your favorite politician. When nearly 500,000 Americans are dead, it don't make excuses. You demand better. Finding a way forward. COVID was never just about science. It was about trust, about how easily people could be divided, about how much harder it is to fight a crisis when half the country thinks the other half is the real enemy. I still have people in my life who don't believe in vaccines, who think masks were a scam, who think the entire pandemic was overblown, and I still love them. That's the hard part. So how do you move forward when you fundamentally disagree with people you care about? How do you find peace in a divided world? That's the question I'm still trying to answer. Next time, Trump and the rise of mistrust. If COVID was a test of our ability to work together, then the years leading up to it had already made sure we would fail. Next episode, we talk about Trump and the rise of mistrust.